I want to welcome you guys to a very special video. I have spent a lot of time in creative and I have created a lot of schematics and a lot of files and a lot of really good builds during the time that I've been on the jCraft server. And I really want to start releasing this content out more regularly, but I kind of like waiting 10 episodes to put all this stuff out because the first 10 episodes I really didn't use that many schematics, and there's actually some stuff off camera that I decided not to go back to because some stuff just does not pan out. So I want to show everything I've got, and I want to show you some of the processes and the steps, some of the stuff that might be broken. I do have some broken redstone, and it'll show you why I built something else over the other thing, and you'll see some of that around here. So this is going to be mostly a tour of the surrounding area, but I do want to give a few warnings and some notes. Not all these schematics alone are mine. Some of them are Jay's, some of them are modified versions from other people that I don't know the source of. Any of that will be mentioned in the credits below, as well as if any of the redstone I have comes from Jay, there's naturally a link in my video for his channel if you want to go through that, where there is also a Discord. If you want to join the Discord, there are plenty of little files and stuff that he has right there so that you can check and look through all the stuff that he's made as well. So without further ado, we're going to get started on this, and I want to welcome you to my creative testing area, which is a complete mess. If you want to find out what these two things are right here, there is a couple videos on the prototyping I was doing, so I will let those videos be referenced in my channel history. So also my video settings are a little messed up. So let's start off with some of the simple stuff. Right here is the basalt generator I use currently. This is just a very simple little build. It doesn't do anything fancy besides just it's stacked diagonally when there's lava to allow basalt to generate naturally. And just gets pushed over, and then there's obsidian to stop it so that it gets pushed down, so that there's a 5x5, 5x7 or a 5x9 created so that it can be mined. This could be also a lot wider as well. There's a lot of modifications that could be done to this if you were to use more lava, but I wanted to use as little lava as possible, so 5 buckets was pretty reasonable to me, so that's why this created that much. Then there is going to be a very, very expanded version of the wart farm that I have on the server, and this is actually really nice to have something this big. This would probably be a decent supply for just about anybody. And there's some weird texture glitches going on over there. What is going on over there, guys? That's weird. Alright, so I had to have an extender built into this as well. I have to, well, this is just a regular repeater line, but I have to be able to actually activate this piece right here. So there's a little bit of redstone to help with that down the entire thing for the expanded version. I don't know how much this creates, but it's a lot. But it's very similar. It's very similar in many ways, as the extension is the same. I don't know why I did this. I just starting to realize right now in my head that I could just use torch towers, so I might update that very soon. Then there is the obsidian. This is the lava collector for the obsidian mining machine, the mining facility. This was actually a really fun project. There's a lot of stuff that went into this, and some of the stuff is broken, but it does create one heck of a mob switch in the creative testing world. So maybe it's just better used for that, because now you can mine obsidian using a wither on the end platform. You can get a lot of obsidian off that. That's how we actually have all of our obsidian. But this was built before that was possible, so this was somewhat revolutionary in the design phase. But this bucket loader I tried to design myself does not work. It actually sends the shulker boxes on the way too, so that is a bust of a design. But a modified version of it is over here for the bucket unloader. I can leave a schematic for this if you guys want this, but I think it's really relatively easy to make a shulker box unloader and then have it with an unstackable item filter. That's all it is, and then it'll sort your shulker boxes out to the side, which I don't think I have any in there. That's okay. But I will go over this machine later in a bit, because there's actually one in the nether, and we'll go through the nether project later too. So on to a couple other things. We do have some silly things. This is the mesa storage facility. I will not be showing the inside of that. There's some redstone in there that is very, very awesome, but I probably have to change it up a lot, because the design was based on not having infinite shulker boxes, so maybe I have something better for it now, or maybe I'll keep that. I don't know yet. We have the end rod hypnotizer. This is something Jay built. I don't know why he built this over here, but yeah, so you can just sit in your chair and watch them move up and down all day. It's like a very slow, weird game of Pong, I guess. I don't know. but there's a really weird build. There's two of them for some reason. And then there is these two, which you guys might notice this is the fungus duality tree farm. But I was trying to use this, and I did just update it. Originally, there was a small, there was a smaller hemisphere over here on both sides, and this was a very nice design. I've kind of blown it up because of the TNT falling from above. But I tried to expand it, and I really wanted to work on it. It just does not work the way I would want it to. 16 TNT for 10 trees is just not efficient. So I don't think that this is ever going to work in an efficient way enough for me to use it, but it does look really nice. I do like the way this looked. It felt like it was a portal to another world. I could have designed this into something fantastic, but since it doesn't work, it's not worth going on any further about. I'd love to show you how it works, but since it doesn't properly work, it's a lot of manual labor. But this is just the Nether fungus duality tree farm. There's a lot that goes on here with this. Notably that you can harvest these trees. I've got some here, and you just sweep through each layer to get as much as you can, but I would recommend that if you've got the patience to actually bone meal and then hoe in just hoe the next tree you're going to plant. So use a hoe, clear all the blocks above it before you bone meal it, and then move on, and you'll get the most out of it, which is like 7 stacks or something like that, minus whatever might actually grow, because you get some of these really tall ones like this, and they get some really good clearance at the very beginning of the farm, and then stuff builds around it, and these are hidden when you've got this giant block of red. This is hidden, and then that's a half stack of logs right there, give or take. So that's that. There is a very early stage to my very recently finished Nether Hall, and this is the design that it was going with originally, and I think this is probably still the 3rd phase. This is right before I started tinkering with it in the actual Nether, and then I decided, hey, I should probably use some renewable Nether-based resources, because this is really bright and really patterned, as well as I decided gold would be a nice bling and a nice little flex that I'm using some gold blocks, but gold really isn't that hard to get. But this is just the fancy little build where it started. I had some curvature at the back of this, but from the other side, it doesn't really look that great. I mean, it kind of does. I could see that it could look great, but I've got something better now as well as I decided to put a TNT over there, so that's not important. Not sure what that is. And I think that's most of what's over here of importance. We've got a couple of... Actually, this is my blast chamber that I designed. This is broken in many ways. It will eventually self-destruct itself. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know what the reasoning is. I can't seem to figure it out, so I've given up on using this. It is just broken. There is probably a raid farm around here. Yeah, there's the raid farm from Rayworks. Let's see. Just a bunch of testing, general testing around here, like a furnace array and stuff like that. My house, which Jay decided end rods were a better fit for it than anything else. He's not wrong. It does look pretty awesome. But that's the general idea of my house. My house actually would have looked a lot better had I properly finished it. This is the creative testing we had for it. It looks really, really good. It does. There are some windows and a patio and just some nice column builds. And this is a very early house, so I didn't want to go too far with it. I just wanted it to be really nice to have. And this is where the map would be as well. And hello, creeper. And goodbye, creeper. So yeah, this house is really nice. I kind of like the way we were decorating with the leaves. It took a really nice turn, but it's just too small to add too much detail to. Over here, I'm not sure what that is, but we've got the obsidian factory. I believe this is what I called this. It is a very strange name to say out loud, but this is the obsidian manufactory. I think that's what I called it. And it's really just a giant lava storage facility with obsidian mining over here. So there is 5 spots to break right here, and then you get your obsidian. And then you just break it again, and as long as you're not breaking it too fast, like in creative, it'll actually work. And I think that even if there's just 1 obsidian in here, like if you're running low on lava, this still works just fine. I don't think it breaks anything, but it's meant for 2 people. If you have 1 person in the nether and 1 person mining, they can outpace you, So if you have a big server of people, having 2 people out there collecting lava and 1 person mining is typically pretty efficient. Or you can spend quite a few hours out there collecting lava and AFK this for an hour or 2. There used to be an experience dropper thing machine here. We updated that to where it would drop experience rather than pickaxes, that if your pickaxe broke, which we were planning to break pickaxes with this, we didn't care. We have plenty of librarians and plenty of emeralds, even then, with the raid farm, that this didn't really matter. And it was just, you know, a way to get rid of your pickaxes and get a new one. But it ended up landing in the hopper, and there's some lockage and just some weird problems with it. So it just didn't end up the way we wanted, so this was scrapped as well. And then all you have back here is just the general storage, which is just way up there with just a lot of chests and hoppers. And then your shulker box loaders for the various material types that you're trying to collect, as well as a chest for all the obsidian and all the buckets. And then I think that is everything in this creative testing world that I do care to share. At this point, there's a lot of unfinished projects that I don't want to really expose too much. Like the quad mining beacon setup, I use this, and this is something I did off camera. This is one of those things where I actually built this in survival, but I didn't ever record it. That episode actually got scrapped, which would be like episode 3.5, I think, or maybe 5.5, somewhere in there, not very early into my game. And then we can come back to the storage in just a moment, because there's a lot I want to talk about there. So we're going to go to the nether real quick, and I want to show the obsidian mining, the lava collection machine that is out there, because it is pretty fantastic seeing this thing in motion. So we did some creative testing with this, and then there is a general unloader right here. Ooh, is this a working one? I want to say that this did not work. Nope. Oh, okay, that's what that was. Yep, that is a must. Let me get rid of that real quick. Nobody wants to see that. So I just guess I placed a bunch of shulker boxes there. There is a working version of that again. So this is just a really big flying machine that moves once. That's all it does. All you have to do to move this forward is just have some buttons on you. And I'll show you the right inventory configuration in just a moment, as well as linking the video above. But you just... wrong spot. Boom. And that's all it'll do. And then everything would just connect forward and push forward through this. That's all this does, is it just detects the change and pulls everything backwards with it. I probably could have designed this to be just a little bit better, but I was dealing with a lot of slicing, and if any of this at any time moves away, and say this was here, I had a lot of issues with that, so I could probably work on shrinking this machine down to a smaller size, but this wasn't hard to build. This is like a 30-minute build, but the digging took about an hour total with all this. So the right way to do this, from what I've tested, this is my opinion, you can, you need a stack of buttons, and then you'd have your typical armor, and I would recommend, you know, a couple of fire resistance potions right here, or maybe, you know, a bow and an arrows, and then that would be the maximum inventories you can use right here. And you'd come over to this. There's a redstone block to stop the buckets from going any further. As you can see, this hopper is empty, and you would just take 2 stacks of buckets, and then you can aim below you to clear out what's below you. And I'm going to use fast right click just to collect everything as quick as possible. And now that my inventory is full, you can see that apparently 4 buckets didn't get used. So it is a perfectly filled inventory. You would just come over here and move your buckets over, and it would just go through to the overworld. And then once you're done and you've cleared out enough, and I do recommend clearing in front of you as well, because you will clear that level really easy, as well as shifting down below if you want to grab just a little bit extra lava while you're going across. It doesn't hurt either. And then, as we can see over here, this is spitting the buckets over. I'm not sure if I want to wait. I might wait until this is over. Now that that's over, All it's going to do is send the buckets into the water stream behind here, which you can get stuck in a little bit. And it's just going to send the buckets up into storage. That's all that does. But you do have to be on the other side for that to stay there, unless you have a chunk loader on the other side. Or on both sides, technically. And then it's just going to organize itself through this. And that's pretty much it for this. This used to be a sign. This is not a sign. Okay, that's funny. Second to last, we have the... Make sure I don't cover anything that is J's, because I don't want to do that. We have the storage facility. There's a lot here. I want to give credit to Gastonito, or Gastonito. I can't remember his correct Reddit name. Or Gastonito, I think. He created a llama shulker storage system where there would be llamas on minecarts sitting here, and they would be filled with as many shulker boxes as you could put into them. And then you'd select which one you'd want. It'd come through here, it would be detected, and it would open this up pretty easily. It was a pretty good system, and I liked it, but a couple main problems I have is that nothing was flush with the design. You know, he made a really easy way to get the llamas in and out. They are too tall, so you could right-click them at this level, so for that, it was fine, but the minecart would end up in this little divot here, and I didn't really like that too much. But this display panel, this selection panel, was fantastic, and I couldn't get rid of it. I had to keep this. And then everything else back here, I think I pretty much scrapped it, besides the fact that I didn't use the exact rail method he used, but I did use one similar to where I could have the rails pointing the way I wanted. And then I had the inversion like he does here. You can see the inversion because of the torches that actually inverts these to where they are in the right direction. So a lot of the other redstone in here, I don't know how much of it was actually relevant, but as you can see, my design is a lot thinner. And this is the display panel, and this is how deep it goes back. And you can see that there is just a significant reduction in the amount of space that this took. But this design was pretty fantastic for what he had, but I wanted to use stacked shulker minecarts. So I have probably a bad example because none of these are actually properly filled, but in survival they are. I think it takes around 2100 shulker boxes to fill the entire system. You don't have to use shulker boxes. You can mix and match. Maybe you've just got all the gray with concrete and you just want to put a few of those into shulker boxes because all 5 of them are filled. You know, you can mix and match the system the way you want. I will be sharing this schematic with you guys because it is probably impractical for most people. It is directional. It does need to face south. If it doesn't face south, you will have to learn about which way this goes because it will change the way the rails work consistently. The powered rails prevent any... you can rotate this 360, I believe, and it should prevent any issues since they're separated by powered rails and regular rails, but I have no guarantee that it will stay facing the right direction. In fact, I know that if you rotate this 180 degrees, that this will break, so you'll have to redo the redstone a little bit to make sure that everything faces the right direction. The trip wires that are actually in here are actually how the control mechanics are found, so if there aren't 5 minecarts in here, or however tall you have it, if this tripwire is not activated, it will invert the system. So if, you know, I got rid of this minecart right here, that is how it tells the system that there's a minecart not in the system. And then it also selects the rail, as this rail is no longer straight, as it should be like this. It is no longer, it is like this. And this is the direct input line. If you flip this 180, you should be able to put the line right to here. And then any overflow does fall back into here so that you can see if there's a minecart here, you put something in there that you weren't supposed to, or you're overfilling it. Hey, you don't need any more minecarts is what that's really saying. Once you fill the system up though, you will have to prime the system a little bit. Uh-oh. I didn't want you to go that way. I'm gonna send you that way then. Goodbye. You do have to prime the system with 4 minecarts, and then you have to go over to the note blocks and... Ooh. Why is that slab out? That slab shouldn't have moved. Let me fix this real quick. I think that might have been a creative issue. That panel should be off now. Okay. I don't know why that was weird. I've never seen that before. Spamming the note blocks too fast can break the system a little bit. I'm not sure on the level of breaking. But if you select more than one note block side by side, you can break the slicing, which means you'll have to go back and fix the honey and slime if it does create a problem. I believe I have made the system to where that doesn't happen anymore, but just in case, please be very careful that you don't spam everything too fast, because you can end up with stacked minecarts, you can end up with a lot of problems, and generally you really want to wait for one minecart to be in here and then no more. You do not want any more in here than one. So the quickest explanation of this, I don't want to spend too much time on this, there is an emerald block. If you follow the emerald all the way over, that is the first to 8th minecart selection, and then lapis backwards. So if I want to put a cart in the 14th slot, that's the 14th slot. I would have to lock everything else, and then I would be able to send it to this slot. That is just how the system works, because it is a rail system. It does have some limits, and the limit is that if anything is taken out of here and you're trying to send a minecart back to the 14th slot, you're not going to be able to if there is a minecart out in any other number before that. If there's a cart out in 16 and you select cart number 2, it is going to go back here, but these will switch. So let's say I pick this one first and I pick this one second, okay? Well, the first one's going to be right here and the second one's going to be coming. If I send the first one back to the now, this is the wrong spot, because this number comes up sooner, it's going to switch these carts positions, which can be handy, but it can ruin your organization, so please do be careful with that. On the other hand, this is a generally cheap build. I would say that this is a very cheap storage system. Just on the fact alone that there are very, 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 very few hoppers in this, and instead of having hoppers, you just have a bunch of minecarts, which you can find these if you really wanted to find all of those. I think there's like 80 minecarts in the system, and wood would be the second expense. The concrete and redstone, generally you don't need to use redstone blocks with this. If you want to be cheap and you don't want to use redstone blocks, you can just use torches, but since I have some redstone laying around, you kind of always can't. So I did have to use redstone blocks with this. It's just the way the system works. It's just part of how I had to do the expense. And when I say that this is going to cost around a stack of redstone blocks, some of this is for the indication panel as well. Actually, it might be a little bit more, because I'm starting to see that there's a lot more redstone put into this than I expected. So there's just a lot of redstone used everywhere in here. And there are 2 different indication panels. So this is the original panel from Gastonito's design, and then this is the indication panel that this is not full. So when you start the system and you've built this, I would recommend that you actually have these extended outwards until you fill them with minecarts. That's the system. The last thing in the system is that there is a shulker box switcher. So if I put a minecart in here with shulker boxes, you hit this once and you'll hear that noise, and a shulker box will be in here. Hit it again, that shulker box will now be out there and activated, and then never hit this again until you're on a new minecart and you don't have any shulker boxes in here. Then you just click this when you want to switch boxes, check what's in here, and switch back and forth. I will show this in a different design module in just a few minutes. I do have a nice, neat little quick door right here as well. I just wanted some privacy in case it was night. So there is a door, and it works pretty quick. Now all of this is testing towards this. This is before I got here, and I wanted to be able to take a minecart out of here before I got to the switching module that I have here. I wanted to actually have a system that would load these boxes back up automatically, and I have not yet created something that works perfectly. So this one would misplace the boxes. I have no idea where the boxes go, but for some reason they just start disappearing, and then they stop ending up in the minecart like they're supposed to. And I can actually fill this with my boxes just to show you that this is a very broken system. I can't even remember how to use this, so give me just a couple minutes to make sure it's working. I don't believe there's any minecarts left in here. I don't know anything else about the system. I'm going to assume that this is going to work very, very horrendously. That's the collection. This is the sending the boxes out. And then... Okay, so how do I activate all the boxes? I don't think I ever finished this then, because that's weird, because I thought that this did work. Guess not. Okay, then, yeah, look, there's a box missing. And it's not in here. It's not in there. And knowing my luck, it's probably not even in the minecart. So I don't know where that shulker box is. And maybe it's got something to do with the redstone back. No, I don't know. See, that's what I'm talking about. Oh. It might help if the hopper is facing the right way. So where's the box? Let me find it. Okay, so I think I've got this working in a better manner than it did. Looks like some of the boxes got left behind. That's fantastic. This system could work, theoretically, but I don't know how I would load the boxes through here yet, so I'm still working on that too. And then the cart would actually technically sit over here, but I want to make sure that I can get all these out, so... There's the next round of boxes. Yeah, this system was cool, but I'm seeing a lot of problems with it. Yeah, see, there's just a lot of problems with this. So this is a nice little tileable design that could have used the minecart, and I'm going to try to fix that as well, but, I mean, it's really weird at this point. I tried to make it a stack design. Had a lot of fun with that one. Didn't work. Then I tried to use a 3-wide design. Didn't work. I couldn't figure out how I was going to get items in there. I don't want to talk about that one. Oh, that's actually no box selector. That's a noise tester, isn't it? Yeah, so this is a noise box. Cool. Okay, so this is a modification to the design I have in there, which I'm going to try and implement very soon, but there are a specific number of boxes in a minecart, and once you've set up storage, maybe you want your boxes to stay in a very specific order. This design does that. There's a dummy minecart down here, which really isn't a dummy minecart, it's just an extra minecart. So what you would do to create the minecart is you'd leave one down there when you built this, and then you put your regular box or your minecart up here. This minecart would be coming from your storage system. Once it's empty, you'd send that cart on its way and then switch them. So, you know, 11, 12, 13. Here's the cool part. 11, 12, 13, they're in order. And this is a really neat system. I don't have a schematic of this right now, but if you guys want this, let me know. I will add it to the list of everything else. If anything else I've listed hasn't been added to the video, let me know. I will add it myself if I have to. I just don't know what is and isn't something I want to send out because I don't know what you guys are interested in. So there's also another modified design that I can enjoy. Got some noise. And I think I had this selected to where I could also loop it and where I could have it sent back. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I want to double check the cart. You know, that kind of thing. Then I can do so with this system right here. But I don't think it works properly 100% yet, so I won't go too much further into that. I have one more project left. Besides this, I do want to show this off. This works. I'm not going to go through demonstrating it because it's a little bit to set up. This is a vertical version of this. And this works. This does put the minecart in the hopper and everything else like this. I believe original inspiration for this just came from the fact that I didn't like the way this laid out. And that ended up being twice as tall. So this is like 50-some blocks tall. And you can just see so much redstone in this that I don't know if it's practical. But if I were to use this properly, I would hit this button. All these pistons would activate. It becomes a solid glass tower. The boxes have only one choice to go right here, and they all do end up right back in here, which is fantastic. But I can't figure out how to sort the boxes, so that's something I'm going to work on. And once I get that to work, I'll be very happy with this design. Alright, the last thing I want to go through is the Piglin Bartering Hall. Ages and stages of that. I will get there very, very soon. So coming out of the obsidian generator portal, we have the actual bartering hall over here. There are a little bit of spoilers for the build, but they're not huge spoilers. There's just some things I did differently. This was the intention with the actual hole I made. I wanted to be able to come through here and land right here, and I don't know if I might move that to make this happen now that I know I need a 4x4. I could have actually broken this, and maybe I'll move that, but I'll have a permanent hole to right here that is just a little bit aggravating. So I'd be able to fall, and it's really awesome. Let me show you guys how this works, because in survival, this is actually This is an actual survivable fall thanks to hay bales. I do have some pretty overpowered armor on right now with Feather Falling 4, so I will show you what this looks like in survival. So going into survival, we're gonna fall 100. That's it. 100 damage to jump from the roof of the nether, which is like 70 some blocks up there, to here. I'm gonna take 100 damage thanks to Feather Falling 4. Now out of that, and on to some of the stuff that was actually up there that I wanted to show you. Flying is sometimes a little hard. Extremely hard. And this is all the stuff that I have been experimenting with to get this piglin bartering hall to work. Now, a couple of differences I made in the survival world is that this no longer sits on the roof of the nether. I was going to dig a 5x5 hole through the bedrock, and I thought that that'd be fantastic to do, but I realized that I didn't really like the way that looked, and I would like to have all the redstone for the bartering hall above the roof and just have all that noise away from you as far as possible, because these guys are noisy. I don't think I have anything in here, but I do have them in this one, and they are just absolutely noisy. They're not really that fun to listen to all day. So there's nothing different from this design as there is this design, besides the fact that I just removed the bedrock, but there is the collection system from here. I did show this off in the last video. It's just, I love the way that this works, but I was having a lot of issues with them sticking to each other or staying extended outwards. So with a little bit of help from Jay, I was able to get that to work. With this quick flick, you'll see that this pulses twice, and that creates this perfect clock that is synced there twice. But carrying on to the actual important stuff. So there are 3 of the very same buildings right here, here, and here. This is a 2-way design of these 2, and this is the original design before I tried to see if I could manage the items in a different way. So the first design was to have them standing on chains. Chains were a very new block. They were really kind of awesome to have, you know, something that I wanted to see if I could create a very unique farm for. However, it decided that the piglins were going to throw their items directly on top of it somehow. Some way they managed to throw their items directly on top of this chain almost all the time. Now, obviously their items would fall through, but there would still be the chance that the chains would collect items. So I had to create a system that, with just the press of a button, would push the items over. But as you guys can see, these trapdoors meet up with these trapdoors, which were for the gold alignment that I had here. I probably could have aligned this gold a little differently, but I wanted to create a solid block little spot here where the piglins could throw their items, so their items would end on this piston bolt below. Now I do have a separate schematic for the piston bolt alone, and it is very fantastic to see, as well as it is right over here. So the idea was that their items would land on top of these pistons, and very quickly you could just send the items over very, very quickly, very efficiently. This would never break. Maybe if you unloaded it, I have no idea what the actual breakage is, but while the farm was running, this typically wouldn't have any problems. So all of these designs are based off of that principle right there. Everything that is over here besides the last design, which was a complete strip down of the design and a complete remake, and I can't believe it worked, but it did. And sometimes tearing your builds down and starting over with a fresh separate design sometimes just works the best. And that is sad to say, because I really did like this and I tried so hard to get it to work and it didn't. But that's okay. That's what redstone testing is all about. So this design had a couple of problems. First of all, in that design as well, loading the piglins in with this didn't seem fun, because they would actually spawn, even if you pushed them in here, they would end up landing on this trapdoor, and then you'd have to push them over, and it was going to be a lot of work. So getting them in here was not a very clean, easy effort. I could have probably, moved the trapdoor, and I could have done some wonky mechanics to get this to work. But end of the day, they were not going to be very easy to get into. It would have been nice to see them trading and stuff like that a lot better than I can in my new design. But that was the first problem. Second problem, items would land on this ice right here, and I wanted to collect 99.9%, if not more, of my items. This design would lose about 5% of the items sitting right here, and with quartz and nether brick and soul sand, gravel, quartz, all of that being very, very important to have, that was bad. That was going to be a lot of lossage when it came to a 5% loss. So I had to completely remove this design, because even though most of them would land over here, you still have the couple stragglers that just wouldn't decide to come all the way over, and they would just sit there forever. And then the gold suspension was right here, wouldn't give them all the gold they needed. For some reason, the gold would either go by too fast or something, and gold would just end up landing right here, so I created this design to loop it around. That didn't work either, so I had to scrap this one design and this design. As well as this design, I tried to get the piglins in the same cell design as before to unload into a split hopper minecart right here. It didn't work either. The item flow would actually back up no matter how much you would do. I want to be able to run this thing consistently, and with this you'd have to give it a brief cooldown period to get rid of all the items. And this is on a double piston setup, so a double piston item mover. I don't know what to call this. I haven't designed a name for it, but it would then shoot the items over and into the overworld. I was going to try to sort them in the overworld to be a little cheaty, but being 20,000 blocks away from spawn, it just didn't seem like worth the effort to build a separate design for this. I probably wouldn't have had my stuff blow up as much from the ghasts, and I wouldn't have been hit by piglins and pigs as much, but, you know, it just, this was a neat idea to try, so I scrapped that design as well. And then I will go over that one in just a moment, but I want to go over the storage system because this failed as well. Actually, this failed because I had the same problem as number one, that items would spew everywhere. So this is twice as long as a belt, 2 times over, so it was 4 times more expensive than the first design. I was that desperate to get it to work, I didn't care how many pistons I used. And it just, items would land here, and items would land on top of those repeaters, and items would land here, and items would land all over the bedrock. And this design required you to manually place your gold inside, because we didn't have a giant gold frame like we do now. You would throw your stack of gold in here on the node, and there goes my gold, and then, you know, you do it again, and then you could put your next stack in there, and so on and so forth. And it didn't work. There were a lot of problems with this as well. Namely the item collection. There was even more items sitting on here at the end of this that it was just a little laggy, so it was a little bit inconsistent with that. And then we can turn this back on. I don't have any problems. Also, just to show that Jay has been trolling me, yeah, he left this on here. I left this one here because I thought it was funny, but he has just so many, he's left so many of them. I found 3 of them throughout this tour that he placed after he started this little prank war. Yeah, there's just, these signs are everywhere. So, later on, I tried to get item translocation to work. I wanted to use an ice pathway, and I got something pretty successful here, but this, I don't know what I was doing with this. I think I was trying to manage like sending items over, and I wanted items to land there. You see how they got really stuck almost immediately? They didn't even wait. And then you'd send your items over, they'd get stuck on the slime, and then this little machine right here would actually capture the items on top, pull them back, and then you'd shoot them through. And this was basically a hole-in-one right there. That was fantastic. That was a great demonstration. And then I was trying to figure out a good ice path right there to send it around. As you can see, the reason I moved the piglin egg over to here is because there's just all this extra ice and trackway that I was going to have to build. And as you can see, stuff is spawning on it, and I don't want them messing with the items or the slime mechanics at all, because if one pigman stands on the string, it'll back up a whole bunch of items. So then I tried to, you know, sort everything, and this actually ended up breaking recently. This used to shoot items all the way across here, or I broke the redstone to make this work, because I was using some couple of mechanics to where it would send these all the way across, and they would successfully get across here, and then they'd get shot back, they'd fall down, they'd get sent over, and then they'd land on top of this slime block here, which this is fantastic. I'm going to turn my hitbox on for you, and this would actually elevate the items vertically, and it works 100% all the time. Downwards though, I'm not sure what's going on with the second string. Does not activate on the way down, but every other one does. Weird. And then I had overflow as well, to where most of the time I'd actually end up with the fire resistance in the boots. But this right here is a dispenser to fire off all the extra, you know, potential projectiles, and they would go really, really far. I'm not sure when, but splash potions, they actually go a lot further than they used to. So this system would get rid of things, like, easy. So stuff would just go. Fire charges, splash potions, now the spectral arrows. This didn't have spectral arrows in it when I designed this, and now it does. And the water bottles, you just end up with the fire resistant potions, the water bottles, the boots, and the books. That is what would end up right here. And having 4 items getting mixed up in there isn't as bad as having all of the items in the system together. But this is probably a pinnacle peak of the design I had here. This was a nice little creation. I think Jay helped me create this. I can't remember. But it does not and cannot translocate people. It just, it just can't. You don't get high enough. See, I didn't even trigger that. So items can move a lot higher than we can, so that's a good thing to know. I did have some other bits and pieces here. I was trying to create a splitter for the gold, to where you could separate your gold, but this didn't end up working as well. This is a bit of a busted machine. So that is everything I have here. This is probably the most compact storage system or experimentation section I have is right here. But I do have just a couple more pieces. This is broken. I don't remember if that works. I think that one works. And then I think Jay built that one, or no. That's definitely my design, for sure. That used way too many hoppers, so that was scrapped. But these are all shulker loaders, and it all worked the way I wanted them to, but the box would eventually end up in the hopper back here and lock the entire system. As you can see, I can't send any more items through except to this side, which for some reason this side allows items to flow through due to the locking mechanic here, but nothing would go through here. So yeah, it didn't exactly work the way it was intended. So yeah, this didn't pan out either. And then I don't even know what I was trying to do here. I was trying to tile it, I guess, but that didn't work out either. There's just a lot of testing that you can do with Redstone to learn and get used to creating a design. So this is everything I have. I think I have about 10 schematics or so. Yeah, I think I have about 10 schematics right now that I'm releasing with this video. And I want to thank you guys very much for watching this, because it has been quite a long one. I know I do a lot of talking with this, but there's just so much more I could have spent talking about this. And I could have showed up a lot more. I could have easily made this a 2-hour video, but I had to cut that stuff out because otherwise this would just be way too long of a video for you guys to get schematics. Let me know what you guys think of this video as well, because if you've made it this far, I really do want to thank you. And I want to know if this is what I should do with all of my schematics, release a separate video, show you guys what I've done behind the scenes. I do really like this behind the scene exposure of what I've done. I think it's really fantastic to see that. But I don't know if you guys would rather the schematics be in the actual episode, which is probably more relevant than this video is. But I haven't done that just because all of these so far are all the early age schematics. So what do you guys think? Let me know about that, and I will see you in the next episode, I think. I don't know. I'll see you when I see you next.